Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SABIFF 2020. Today, we have a very special interview with Merawi-Gerima. He's a director who has a film that was recently picked up with a very special deal. But first, I'd like to introduce Ada Babano, the founder of the San Antonio Black International Film Festival 2020. To you, Ada.
Thank you, Shatar. Merawi-Gerima, welcome. Thanks for taking some time down. You've been like touring the world / Venice
Yeah.
in the midst of COVID.
Right.
But, this for everyone out there. This is Merawi-Gerima. He is a young filmmaker who did his first feature film in DC right after he got out of grad school, Merawi, or undergrad?
Grad school.
Okay, we're out of grad school. See, I'm losing track with you because you're grown now. So he just got out of film school and came back to DC and did a film called Residue, and just kind of put it together here and there, and finished it and did one film festival, Slamdance, and badam, got a distribution deal with Array. Ava DuVernay's company is now on Netflix. You can watch it on Netflix as we speak. So as soon as you hang up with this, go to Netflix, watch Merawi-Gerima's film Residue. So Merawi, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I am overjoyed by what's been happening to you very quickly. But now there's some history here. Merawi, I knew him when he was in diapers. When I worked with his mom and dad on their film projects. But I just want to starting off, did you know what you wanted to do growing up in a household of filmmakers, always being surrounded by the craziness, the challenges, the struggles? Did you have an idea when you were coming up that this is what you wanted to do, or you just kind of fall into it at a certain point?
You know, it's funny. I was just talking about this. I just growing up in a filmmaking household has got to be a singular experience. You know, especially in a household, you know, of Black, you know, independent filmmakers. You know, just kind of like struggling in every way possible to get these films out. You know, against, you know, tremendous, impossible odds. You know. But you know, yeah, my earliest memories are definitely in Jamaica, you know, on the set of Sankofa. I didn't know at the time, but like, you know, looking back, that's what it was. And you know, when we was kids, you know, you seen us passing out flyers and all that stuff at conventions and stuff. I got lost in Atlanta, you know, because we were in Atlanta to distribute the film.
Black Art Festival, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, I got lost in this massive convention with hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah, I forget how I got. Somebody found me, but at a young age, because that's the kind of life that, you know, we was living in. And I think that like I took in a lot of lessons, you know, through osmosis, but at no time did it occur to me to pursue film. You know, I think, you know, sometimes people, you know, never from Haile or Sharik, because, you know, from my parents, you know, they weren't the type to pressure their kids to do anything. But sometimes from like other folks outside the family, they'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna follow in your father's footsteps," and, you know, shit like that. But, you know, I never, you know, that kind of stuff just pushed me further away. In fact, especially as rebellious as I was, you know. And really, it wasn't until after undergrad that I was even starting to consider film.
What was your undergrad major in?
Well, which one? I changed my major 5 times. 4 times. Yeah,
do not follow that roadmap, people. Changing your major 5 times. But
no, I graduated from Howard. I was studying graphic design. But before that, I was doing like 3D animation. Before that, I was doing jazz studies at FAMU, playing the guitar. And then before that, I was doing I was trying to do bio for some reason. I was trying to do pre-med. I was trying to be a psychiatrist.
Where did that come from?
Actually, my uncle Matt, my mother's brother, was in my ear about how much money psychiatrists make. All right, bet, I was looking for something to get, a major anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't work out. I left after one semester. But anyway, yeah, once I graduated from Howard, I was like, okay, what am I gonna do with my life? Because graphic design ain't it, for me. And film was, the first time I really felt like I could really start to say the things that I wanted to say,
Mm-hmm. And what is it you wanted to say, Merawi? What is it? I mean, what is it that you had in your head that you felt that you had to get out? Because our Highly always teaches to do what you're passionate about, to write what you're passionate about. So what pretty much were things that engulfed your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think that like growing up in DC in the 90s, Northeast DC at that, it's so specific, the type of upbringing. Like for me, it was important to, kind of, try and transmit the full experience of being Black in DC. And I think that requires so much more than just one kind of medium can provide, in terms of photography or just painting, and I think that like film really allowed me to bring to the fore, all the sounds, that are, kind of caught up in, like the way DC sounds, from the accent to just the atmosphere, the cicadas, all those kinds of things, to kind of the images that I came up with growing up on Q Street, very distinct images, yeah. And so I think that film provided a medium where there's enough different, knobs and buttons, that you can really start to fine tune and transmit a broad experience for somebody, who's viewing the film.
I want to just give the audience, I know Q Street well. I used to go, after I graduated from Howard, in the basement of Q Street before you were even born, and worked down there on Sankofa. So I know Q Street well, and I could pick out who was who and the characters, and yeah, very well. But give us a sense of what you faced on Q Street, because your mom and dad were filmmakers, had gone to college, and so that was the difference with you all growing up and everybody around you. So how did that feel in terms of, I know coming up we were supposed to not play with certain kids because of this and that and the other, but you all were in the mix with these kids and with the violence and everything else that Q Street brought.
Yeah, I think that the differences between our households didn't show themselves, until, much later, in the fact that we were able to move out once things got, completely topsy-turvy. But yeah, outside, the fact that they went to school, it was the fact that that Heidi was like a college professor. They still had like, 5 kids, 6 mouths to feed. I think that, there's like, but I think at the same time, like, yeah, it was a working class neighborhood, and for the most part, everybody didn't have that protective bubble, and that bubble didn't reveal itself until, when it was needed most. When everybody could have used it. It was clear that like our family was one of the few families that was able to move away. And I think coming back, the difference between me and the guys I grew up with, my childhood friends, revealed itself very clearly, in terms of the paths that our lives took. And, that's the idea behind the film, is really trying to trace and make sense of this disconnect between, two seemingly, similar beginnings. With him trying to track down his friends who were subject to so much more than he was.
Yeah, so how long has that been sitting with you in terms of, were you intending to go to school to get your master's and that be your thesis film, or how long has this story been sitting with you in terms of it being birthed into the film? But when did that really start to come out of your head for you to put it on paper and actually write the script for this and transform it visually?
Well, I started writing in the summer of 2016.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, that's when I came back to DC and just kind of saw how everything was going. And so it became important to start writing that summer. But I'd been hearing news about folks long before that, and so this idea of Q Street and the folks I remember, the kids I grew up with, and all that kind of stuff. That was, that's been swirling around for a long time, since I left, and it was really at a certain point, these two ideas kind of came together, about what's happening to DC at large, and then what's happening to the people I grew up with on Q Street. And that's kind of residue as the genesis of these two ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw at the end you donated it to dedicated to Peanut and people on the block. So that was really cool. Yeah. So I want to just kind of hear just what happened along the way in terms of how you were able to assemble this and put it together, because I know with independent film, you can't just like shoot it in 2 weeks or 3 weeks and then you're done. You got to pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down. So just your process of how you were able to get to a completed film. Can you just, and I think this would be good for other filmmakers out there who are starting to go through the process of getting their written works shot and completed and overcoming the obstacles. I mean, just tell us about the process that you had to go through.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have any money, first off. That's probably the biggest thing, and we weren't willing to wait for any money to come through. I didn't really apply to any grants or anything like that, because I just felt that, if I did, it would slow us down and, all those kinds of things. And I felt that the primary thing was to start recording these people in these places before they were, these people in places who were, kind of flagged for demolition. It was important to hurry up and go get it before that demolition occurred. Mm-hmm. So we went in. I mean, it took me a year to write while I was in my second year of film school. That following summer, 2017, I came back to DC, kind of, I think May, and started assembling a crew over that month. Yeah, by the end of June or mid-July, we started filming. And
what time did you have a rehearsal period with the main actor or something like that? Or no?
No, we had no time to rehearse. I had just enough time to get a lead actor and all the kind of primary actors that we needed. We were still casting as we began shooting. But in DC, once the rainy season starts, like I think in August or end of July, so it really doesn't let up, and so I think that like we were up against that clock, the fact that people needed to go back to wherever they're, like our cinematographer Mark, he was living in LA at the time. We only had him for so much time. The camera was donated. We couldn't keep the camera for beyond 2 weeks, and
oh wow,
it was all types of time. But yeah, so we were filming in my neighborhood where I grew up, with the folks I grew up with, their kids, were acting in the film. It was a whole kind of community kind of thing, shooting in the homes that I had grown up in, homes with my family and friends. My friend's grandmother is the one singing, that song in Spanish. That's his daughter that she's singing to. It was a community affair, from top to bottom. We were grabbing people up the street for certain roles. When actors fell through, my mom played in it because the woman we cast for Mike's mother, she didn't show up.
Oh yeah, and Mom did a great job. Mom did a very great job. Yeah, she did. So those guys on the block on the steps when you come in, those are just folks in the hood. I mean, just in
those
the block.
Are my neighbors. Yeah, those are my neighbors.
Okay.
So
were they happy to take part in this? Were they like cheering you on? Were they, because they remembered you growing up? So were they happy to?
Oh, I mean, they knew what was going on. Like I've been back for a while. Like they already know. It was no surprise to them.
Mm-hmm.
When we started filming, like everybody wanted to be in it. You know what I mean? So it was no issue at all. Everybody was kind of happy to just do whatever. There was no pressure. It wasn't a massive crew. I think they was
very guerrilla filmmaking.
Yeah. That's kind of how it was. We had help from filmmakers at Howard University, film students over there. Towson University has a film school, so we had some folks dedicated folks Yeah, we had folks who were driving that whole distance, early in the morning to 5, 6 a.m. call time and stuff like that.
Wow, awesome. What
Yeah.
about the others? What about the white people in the film? Why did you grab them and get them involved?
We had a hard time finding white folks to act in this movie.
Participate, yeah. How did you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, so we put out, auditions online. We would ask, we would do all kinds of things, and a lot of people would respond, because there are a lot of white folks in DC.
Yeah. Now there are.
When we would send them the, location and like where we were shooting and details about the film, those numbers would dwindle to like 1 or 2. So we really had a hard time getting folks to come through. And so basically, what we did is we had a few white people, and we just kind of would, use an arm here, a leg there, because we had to basically, use them multiple times in multiple roles.
Okay, I have to look at that, and I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the guy who tells Jay to turn his music down is actually the same guy who opens the door when he goes to knock on Demetrius's house.
Okay.
So we couldn't show his face in the first one. Somebody else's voice, as a matter of fact. Stuff like that, which was interesting. And then once we kind of did that a couple times, we were like, this is actually important kind of thing to stick to for the film itself, even as a story, as a point of story and content. The fact that, we have no control of what's going on in the city, but we have control over what's going on in the frame.
Right.
And we want to populate that frame with as much blackness as we can, and just kind of keep white folks on the perimeter. Because also Jay's not even really thinking about them in that way. He's thinking about the people who are still there, his communities that are surviving and things like that. So it all kind of came together to just hyper focus on Jay's kind of attention, the things that he's worried about.
No, I mean, just the whole gentrification, we're all feeling it. I mean, I lived in the Northwest and I moved back home. So was that something that you wanted? I know you wanted to speak to the neighborhood and the people in the neighborhood, but just the whole gentrification and how you tackle it, how you trumpet that in your film. What has been the response so far of just people relating to that, because it's happening in major cities, just from where you've shown the film thus far, the feedback that you've gotten, just dealing with the topic in general?
People, they're really happy to see a film about DC, because you don't ever see that. I think that when you do see it, it's about the White House and politicians. And if you kind of stick to that, if you let Hollywood tell it, there's no black people in DC, but it's very rare to see a film about black DC, being majority black, city. It is, refreshing to finally see that, and it shows, how the city is overflowing, it's bursting at the seams with stories, waiting to be told about the city, so about black people. So I think people have been really happy to see that, the fact that the trailer opens with,
go-go music.
Exactly. I think that was massive, so yeah.
Okay. And just kind of tell us, I mean, you had decided when you did the film, what made you decide on Slam Dance as your first festival? And just tell us what transpired when you did enter your film in Slam Dance and go to Utah to partake in that festival. There, how? And this is good stuff, I think, just for other filmmakers too, because what's happened to you, that's like every filmmaker's dream, first feature film to be picked up and broadcast. That's pretty awesome. But so just kind of tell us about the process of why you chose Slam Dance and what happened in the midst of that.
Yeah, I think first, it's important to start by saying, when we were making the project, we had we had no conversations about where the film might premiere, what festival, what distribution might get. I think that those types of conversations would have been crippling to our creative process. And I encourage anybody who is perhaps inspired by, what has happened to us. I would say that first and foremost is, leave all that till the end, even if then, because I think that we take on so much pressure worrying about audiences, festival juries, distributors, producers, and what people might think, that, your ability to create a honest, story is really hamstringed. And so I think that, that's not the way to go about it. And I've seen it left and right in my 3 years in film school and beyond. Just people who make a film, with the Sundance submission date deadline in mind, the writing level, you know what I mean? So to me, I'm just like, please don't do that. But at the same time, if it's helpful to you, I'll say that, slam dance is incredible because they similarly resist the pressures to, kind of be as, star focused,
right,
Hollywood-esque kind of festival. They really work hard to be about the art and the artist. And they managed to become big, this, with that, kind of framework. And so I say that to say that it's possible that Residue would not have had a big premiere, in general. But because places like Slamdance exist, there was a place for us to kind of come into. Similarly, after the festival, because Ava and Array exist, there was a distributor, who was prepared to take on Black stories in this way. They were ready to also, catch this film out of the festival in a really organic way. We invited them to the screening because we figured they would be in Utah between Slamdance and Sundance. And they came to our second screening, and we just kind of started talking around that time. And I just feel like it's, you can't help but think about the fact that, my parents, Sharik and Haile, had no such options coming out of Berlin, where they kicked ass, whatever festival in the world you want to call, the name.
Berlin,
Sankofa.
and
You know what I'm saying? But right, all that, come back to America, can't find, even normal, regular, transactional business, distribution, opportunities. And that's why, they had to self-distribute. So it sucks because it's just like frustrating to know that they had to like fight through all that. But at the same time, that like the fight that they put, the struggle that they waged along with their contemporaries is kind of what set the stage for people like, set the conditions for people like Ava to come up out of, So I think that like in the end, it's beautiful, in its own way, but at the same time, it's an incredible kind of.
It seems like it's a circle. It just comes full circle, because the struggles from Sankofa did start up an Array, and Ava has the foresight and the vision, amazing vision, to do what she's doing and take it much further than what Haile and Sharik could have ever done. But they laid the groundwork, and that's critical. That's critical. Yeah. So congratulations with that. So what happened? Like they saw it at the festival. Give me details, man. They saw it at the festival. What happened? You said you talked. It's like, were you like surprised? What? I know you're like Mr. Cool, not emotional. What happened? People want to. Yeah, how did it fall into place? It sounds like it was seamless. And maybe
we submitted, and then of course we got in, but then we had to, finish the film because we submitted a work in progress.
Oh, you submitted a work in progress to Slamdance? It wasn't finished?
Nah.
Oh, okay.
It was edited totally, but it wasn't mixed and it wasn't colored. And I made a few changes too, but not anything big. But technically, yeah, it was unfinished. So we had to mix it and color it, me and Mark, in less than a month. So we were basically staying at Sankofa 24, well, almost. I had a full-time job at the time too. So, we were just at Sankofa, day and night. Mark colored it himself, and I was upstairs mixing it, or finishing the sound edit.
Did Hailey have any injections to what you were doing, or he totally left you alone?
He no we know we had several screenings, you know what I mean, throughout the whole process. And Haile gave feedback. My mother, Shurikiana, Shurik was giving, feedback. I had a captive audience that I definitely took advantage of, And I think their feedback was critical, decisive in certain parts of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the production, Haile was, late. He was off to the sidelines, kind of just watching from the wings or whatever. Shriek, was maybe more involved. But Shriek was also, kind of watching from the sidelines. Really.
That's good. They're kind of seeing what you were about.
Yeah.
Which is good. So you can have your own voice and your own vision.
Mm-hmm.
So just in terms of, I just, we're kind of winding down, but I want to kind of get what type of advice would you give these young folks out here that are just looking and watching? Because it seems like the world is much more, it's much more feasible to do stuff, because even if you didn't get a distributor, you could have put it on YouTube, got your channel, whatever, there's things that you could have done to empower yourself, your film through your own means, which wasn't available, when I was coming up, or Hailey or them were coming up. So what type of advice or suggestions would you give those that are looking, watching, and hoping that, they can get their films seen by larger audiences? That's what's really all about, trying to get your film seen by larger audiences. What would you suggest to folks?
Well, I'll say that, kind of witnessing what my parents went through, I've always proceeded in a way where I am prepared to do anything, really, and just assume, that at any stage, something can fall through. And, how do you finish the film, and get it, how do you progress when, that thing has fallen through, even distribution. So for me, I felt that if we didn't get major distribution, we would do what my parents did and just, walk it across the country, or, obviously using, digital means to enhance our prospects for self-distribution. There's many other, small films which have done that successfully. They've had, kind of well-built and curated, self-distribution campaigns using the internet. So,
were you ready for that? Seriously? Were you ready for that? Because I know that's what you were thinking. Oh, I got to do this. I got to do
It got to the point where when I finished the film finally, and we did sign with Array, I was like, I can't imagine getting to this point of writing it, shooting it, editing it over a year and a half, festivals, and then having to start a whole nother years-long journey of self-distribution. Because that's exactly what happened on Sankofa. That's exactly what my parents had to do in analog times. You know what I mean? No internet, no nothing.
Right. Word of mouth. Word of mouth.
Yo, I can't imagine that, because I'm telling you, I'm incredible. This was very difficult, in a good way. I value it, but I was just like, I know I might have to. If I have to do it, I'll do it. But damn, what an incredible accomplishment, that they were able to do, back then. It just kind of made them even more legendary in my mind, But I was ready to do it if I had to, and get the lessons, and grow from it. I was I was thinking about it. I was like, we're looking at distribution, but like we're ready to self-distribute. And Hailey was like, nah. So,
put that joint on DVD and put it in Sankofa bookstore. Huh?
right.
No, I'm very happy for you. I just want to also, well, spoiler alert. I mean, you had not only Slam Dance entered your film festival, you had entered in SABIFF, and you had actually won until I got the call from you saying, "Hey, if y'all are streaming, you can't play the film online." So it was like, okay.
My man, this we are also the incident to
virtual symbolic award, right?
right.
But no, I want to congratulate you on your new engagement.
Thank you.
Much success with that and the birth of your next film.
Right.
You have something else in mind? Because that's what it is. These films are like babies, and you know that you all coming up as babies when Sankofa was in progress. You all were like stepchildren, and Sankofa was the baby, was the big brother. That was like the one all the attention went to. So they are like babies.
So true. That's so true.
Every cent went to Sankofa. Y'all got like the leftover breast milk. That was it.
Right.
Those are funny. But yeah, I want to wish you luck. I want to encourage everyone out there to go to Netflix, hit Residue, and watch it. Tell your friends, set up watch parties. Merawi-Gerima is definitely someone to keep your eye on. We're looking forward to your next baby.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, take care, darling. Good talking to you. Good seeing you. Have a safe trip back home.
Thank you. Y'all take care.
All righty. Bye-bye.